I want to talk about robberies that I've witnessed in the workplace. I thought I'd film this one outside for something different. So here's my buddy. So we're at the dog park. Someone's getting his morning exercise. You getting your morning exercise? And he's pretty tuckered out now. He's been running for 45 minutes already. So springtime here, but the UV rating is already in the extreme. So walking out in the sun feels like someone has a blowtorch to your neck. So that's how extreme it is. Anyhow, I thought I'd talk about something different. And so one of the jobs I had was in a retail store. All the casual staff used to steal items all the time. And the way they did it was, when people put stuff on lay-by, they would package it up and then they would put it out the back. And then once the person had finished making all their deposits, they would give the package to the person. What a lot of the staff would do is they would package all this stuff and put it in the lay-by shop to make it look like it was a lay-by. And then when they were finishing their shift for the day, they would just walk out with it, pick it up and walk out with it. So usually at that stage, the boss was out the front closing the door or the gate or whatever, and the staff exit was out the back. So that's how people would rip off all the items. Mind you, when I worked at the supermarket, I saw a lot of people, customers, going through those automated pay machines. So the way they would get through, the way they would rip off a supermarket, not that I care, was they would package all their goods like normal and then just pretend that they were paying, but it was usually a credit card that had no balance. You know, can't blame them really, considering how much the supermarkets here are ripping us off, and they're still making record profits. I think last year they made the biggest profit ever, even though the supermarkets are crying about how hard things are. So I had another one where I worked for a company where we used to get paid by checks, and the checks were kept in a safe. And I was doing accounts back then, so I noticed after being there for a while that all these big amounts were coming out, but nothing out of the ordinary, because the salesmen would get paid monthly and they would get quite big amounts. And then we couldn't account for all the money coming out. So the boss went and looked in the safe and he noticed that one of the checkbooks was actually missing. So it turns out that this guy had been copying the boss's signature and just making himself cash checks and then drawing a couple of $1,000s every few weeks from the local bank. And he did this for a long time. He stole a lot of money, and he always went to the same bank, and they still didn't catch him. But after like about 20 times of him doing this, the bank were alerted that when someone come in trying to cash a check at this bank, to ring the police up immediately. So eventually they did catch him, but it took a while. And you know, well, how dumb is that, to keep going to the same bank all the time? So I'm pretty sure he's in jail now. I had another one where I was working the public service, where one of the receptionists was in charge of a petty cash tin, and somehow about $15,000 got misappropriated. And we were all pretty sure who took the money, but there was only one person who actually had the key for it. But public service being public service, they don't want to accept responsibility or take action or get involved or do any of that type of stuff. So strangely enough, nothing happened. There was a lot of whispering behind closed doors, but this person wasn't penalised, they didn't lose their job, no one was accused of anything, so this person actually got away with it. Another case I had is when I was at the supermarket. One of the more senior people used to do the late shift. So most of the managers wouldn't work late shifts, they would finish at like 5 p.m, like normal office hours. So this guy, at maybe 8 p.m, when the shop was empty, he would go around with a trolley and go around slowly picking up stuff. So for the first few months I thought he was just going through throwing out old stock, because he was taking his time looking at everything. And then I noticed later, after he walked around on his trolley with all this stuff, he would put it in bags out the back. And I thought, well, he's probably just going to throw it in the bin. And I don't pay much attention to what people are doing. But then I noticed that this guy was, after a while, I noticed when he was leaving work, he was carrying these bags out with him. So I was thinking, oh, you're actually stealing stuff. So you're pretending to be cleaning up and taking the old out-of-date stock, putting it in bags out the back, and then just walking out with it, pretending that he bought it. And this is a senior guy. So don't think that the more senior people aren't stealing as well. Many of the IT jobs I've had, some of the programmers have requested special hardware for testing things or trying to implement something or something. So I know quite a few people have asked for like VR goggles or Apple TVs or things for streaming things onto TVs, you know, like animated displays that you see coming into buildings and things like that. So a lot of those items that people use for testing suddenly just go disappearing after a month or so and never to be seen again. So I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff gets taken home. Not to mention all the phones that go disappearing all the time from the work environment. Hey, come here, come here. Yeah, he's tuckered. Do you want to say goodbye? You want to say goodbye? Go. 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 Go chase the dogs. Okay. Conversely, I've had jobs where the companies had so much money that they used to change our PCs every few years, and they absolutely refused to sell us the PCs because, you know, they gave us quite good PCs, you know, like high-end machines for software development. And I asked a few times, could I buy this machine? Oh, no, they would give it away to be sold at auctions for super cheap. So I was actually offering as much as what they would get it for, but it was their policy not to do that. So I suspect that's something to do with having a tax write-off and just too much effort to sell it to their employees. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that was entertaining and gave you a bit of an idea of what goes on at work.